Hey there, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be talking about a great resource for those who are either in the start of their career, maybe even the middle of their career. But then this is just something I think that everyone would be able to benefit from no matter what field you're in. So let's talk public speaking. Public speaking is consistently ranked as like one of the top fears that people have, often right up there with like spiders or fear of heights, things like that. And if the idea of speaking in front of a group of people makes your heart race and your palms sweat, or your mind just goes completely blank, you're just human. It happens. But the irony is this: the very thing so many people fear is also one of the most powerful skills that you can develop for your career, your confidence, and just general leadership. And so that is where Toastmasters comes in. This is not a sponsored video. This is just all from personal experience. There is no kickback from me. It's a nonprofit. So just FYI. But let's talk about what Toastmasters is. Toastmasters International, it's a global organization designed to help people become more confident communicators and leaders. It's not a class, it's not a lecture, it's definitely the best way I can describe it, it's a club. That's what it is. There's clusters of Toastmasters clubs. And I would say it's more so practice based. It's a practice based environment where people learn public speaking, communication, and leadership by actually doing the thing consistently and in community with others who are looking for the same thing. And how Toastmasters works, it's again Toastmasters clubs. They meet regularly. Sometimes it's weekly or even bi weekly. And basically, members just give short, prepared speeches based on guided projects. And there's also impromptu speaking exercises where you can practice thinking on your feet, which is very important and really makes a lot of people nervous. And each meeting also, more importantly, I think, includes the structured feedback. So you know what to work on, what is working, and then what to improve on. And members just rotate through these different leadership roles and facilitation roles throughout different meetings. And everything is intentional, but you feel so supported with each of those different roles. You're not just thrown into the deep end, you're coached, you're encouraged, and you're allowed to grow at your own pace. And for me, I'm trying to remember how long I've been part of Toastmasters. I'm not a current member, but I want to say it doesn't feel like it was 10 years, but it might have been I might have been a part of Toastmasters for 10 years, but my home club when I was in Toastmasters, it was a corporate club. So my government organization at the time, they held their own Toastmasters clubs for all their employees in the government. And so for me, the reason why I joined Toastmasters is I'm not nervous about speaking in front of people, especially when I know the topic. My biggest issue is that when I really know about a topic or I'm really passionate about a topic, I can talk a mile a minute and people will go, she's knowledgeable about the topic. She really likes what she's talking about or what she's doing, but she's speaking so fast, I don't know what she's talking about. And so for me to join Toastmasters, I wanted to try and regulate the rate of speech because I just know that I could just talk so fast to the point that it was a great topic. It was a great thing that I did, but no one understood it. Additionally, another reason why I joined Toastmasters was because if I did not know about the topic, then I would have the traditional signs of nervousness that usually happens when people think about public speaking. If someone was to pull me off the street and say, "Hey, I want you to talk about quantum physics for 2 to 3 minutes," I would be panicking. My mind would be like flicking around like a Rolodex trying to figure out what in the world can I talk about? How can I talk about this topic for 2 to 3 minutes? I have no clue what to talk about. And then just the nervousness of it all, and I resort to bad habits with filler words and talking a mile a minute because I'm nervous at that point. And so I wanted to make sure that I was able to, at least when it came to impromptu speaking, I can at least develop a somewhat comprehensive, cohesive thing to present to someone if it was just a random thing that I was just pulled out of a meeting to talk about, anything like that. So those are my two reasons for joining. And in Toastmasters, you start off, you have these different project books or manuals that you work through. And eventually, if you're in it long enough and you go through all the different steps required to go and get these different leadership awards, you then become a distinguished Toastmaster. I know if you looked at my previous videos, if you would probably be like, girl, you're a distinguished Toastmaster. Yes, I am a distinguished Toastmaster, but that goes to show you, though, that public speaking is a learned skill and is something that you have to practice or you will indeed lose it. I definitely have realized that I have fallen out of practice for sure, especially when it comes to my filler words. I sprinkle those things into my videos like they're seasoning, and I need to stop it. I've been going back through my videos and editing them or just reviewing them to practice editing. And I have just been so ashamed. If someone from my Toastmasters club heard that, I need to do better. I need to do better. But at least, again, know that public speaking is indeed a learned skill. So you just have to practice it. But if you don't practice it, you will indeed lose it. But my experience in Toastmasters was absolutely phenomenal. I met so many people, got to do so many cool things. They have conferences, local conferences, they have competitions you can participate in. And the corporate club that I was part of, they were a great group of folks. It was a lot of fun. I also participated in a community club as well. And I was able to meet different people in the community that I would never have met before. They were phenomenal. And yeah, good times. It would just got to the point where I think I was going back to school for my master's degree and things like that. And I was like, okay, I gotta time out on this. And I just never managed to get back in there. But Toastmasters is a phenomenal benefit to those who participate. One benefit of it is you build real confidence speaking in front of people. Confidence, again, it doesn't come from talent, it just comes from repetition and practice. Toastmasters gives you regular opportunities to speak in a low pressure environment. And over time, fear becomes familiar to you where you can learn how to harness it for good, whether it's maybe amping up the energy in your speech or your delivery, or just being able to quietly control that energy so it doesn't control you. You also stop avoiding speaking moments and start owning them as well. Like as you become more comfortable in Toastmasters and become more comfortable public speaking, when you're in meetings or you're at different conferences or different things or events, instead of shrinking away from public speaking, you're actually going to start going towards it more and actually trying your hand at it because you feel more equipped. I'll also say that another benefit is you learn how to organize your thoughts clearly. And I can definitely attest to that, especially when it comes to the table topics portion of the meeting. That will test your impromptu speaking skills. And now I know exactly what to go to if someone asks me to talk about quantum physics. Now I know exactly what I would do. It teaches you great techniques on how to organize your thoughts. But many people struggle, and it's not, again, because of lack of ideas, I would say, but just sometimes it's a struggle to express yourself, especially when you're nervous. And Toastmasters teaches you how to structure your messages so that way they are clear, but also really compelling. Because sometimes, well, most of the time when you're talking to someone or you're giving a speech, you're trying to persuade them about something or maybe informing them. But most of the time, you're probably maybe trying to get them to see eye to eye with you. You also become better at storytelling, the clarity, and getting to the point, which is so important. We don't want 30-minute meetings to be an hour. So that helps with you getting to the point in your meetings as well. This shows up in meetings, interviews, presentations, and everyday conversations. You get to practice all these different things in Toastmasters. One of the other benefits is that you get constructive feedback that actually helps you. This is probably the biggest benefit of Toastmasters is most people never get honest feedback on how they communicate. Your boss or your colleagues may not do that because either they are trying to avoid confrontation or they might just not be comfortable giving feedback because they don't know how to give feedback or constructive feedback. But Toastmasters feedback is very specific and it is kind. I'm not saying they're going to tell you what happened, but they're going to be kind about it. And it's going to be actionable. Things that you can actually, the next time you deliver that speech, you'll be able to implement that into that speech. You learn exactly what's effective in your speech and what's distracting. There was a person in our club who, when they first started, they didn't realize that they had a weird tick thing they would do with their tongue in between. It was almost like a filler word in a way, but every time they stopped talking, they would do a like some kind of sound like that. And it wasn't until they were in Toastmasters that someone noticed that and they wrote it down. I think there was their actual evaluator, their speech evaluator. They said, "Hey, you did really good, but one thing I don't know if you're aware of, you have this tick thing that you do when you're transitioning between points. So be aware of that and just cut that out in your future speeches." So that was something that no one has ever told this person, and he was able to act on it for future speeches and future presentations. Um, Another great thing about that whole constructive feedback thing, though, is you also learn how to give thoughtful feedback, which is an underrated leadership skill, I think, because it's very important. You're going to find yourself either in leadership positions or mentoring positions, and you need to know how to give thoughtful feedback to people and not be a jerk about it. I do realize, like, especially people who were promoted to managers or in upper leadership, no one has ever taught them how to give thoughtful feedback. And in Toastmasters, you do learn how to do that because you do serve as not only the speaker, but you do also serve as an evaluator for people as well. So it forces you to kind of think about how you would structure giving good feedback, but then also bad feedback as well. Another benefit of Toastmasters is that you strengthen leadership and facilitation skills. Toastmasters is not just about speaking, that is a good portion of it, but it's also about leading. And at every meeting, members take on roles that build time management, facilitation, and team coordination. And so your practice in your meetings, you'll be practicing like actually leading meetings where you're the Toastmaster of the day, managing agendas, and also just supporting group dynamics in general. And it's leadership development without needing a formal title. So every time you walk into a meeting, you will be tasked with something, and you'll know about that like a week or so in advance. But it's testing your leadership development. And I'll say the last benefit that I see in Toastmasters is that you grow in a supportive, judge free environment. And that is so important, especially when someone is. I've seen so many people come into Toastmasters, and the first speech that you give is probably the easiest speech, and it's called the icebreaker, and it's where you talk about yourself. That's something that doesn't require notes, it doesn't require you to memorize anything because you're just talking about yourself. And the issue is, how do you talk about yourself in 4 to 6 minutes and make it a cohesive speech, engaging, while also trying to combat your nervousness and things like that. So it's amazing to see how people will come in, they will absolutely bomb it because they're so nervous. But just the love and care that other Toastmasters members will be able to extend to that person, because everyone has had a story where they either flopped on a speech or that they have absolutely just they didn't do their best. So everyone has that story and they can understand it and they empathize with the person, but they are also able to give the constructive feedback. You don't need to be loud, extroverted, or polished to belong in Toastmasters. Certainly, you have people in the club who are at different levels. I know when I first joined, there was Toastmasters elders in there, and I'm just like, oh my god, okay, they've competed in contests before. I want to do that. I love how this guy, I love how he opens up his speeches. And so I would take all these different things that I like that other speakers would do and try and implement it into my own speaking as well. So you learn a lot of different things from other people. You choose your own pace and your own goals. And I would say, like with anything else in life, whatever you put into the club is what you'll get out. So if you're faithful to the club, you you do your tasks, you do your projects, you show up regularly, you will see amazing growth. If you put it off and you do things last minute and you don't give it the time of day, you might not see a lot of benefit to it. And so just keep that in mind. The focus of the club is growth and it's not perfection. So don't ever feel like you always have to be perfect or on point. But it is a safe space to try, learn, stumble, and improve. I know with our corporate club, what we would have people do as well, like say, for instance, I know there's been a couple of times like when I had to go to a conference and I was delivering a presentation, they would always invite, say, oh, if you're doing a presentation, or maybe you're doing a presentation in front of like the county commission at that time, you could then practice your speech or your presentation in the club setting, and then everyone can give you feedback on it. So that way, when it was time for you to show up and show out, you would do Toastmasters justice, but then you'll also feel great about your performance and be able to get your point across as well. And so that's always just a nice feeling to see someone. I remember there was a project manager that we had in our club, and he was very quiet, very introverted. But after a few months in Toastmasters, he had to go and present in front of the commissions and the commissioners, and it was a very complicated project. It had something to do with public works. I didn't work in public works, but it was very complicated. And so, but he did an amazing job in bringing that complex issue, distilling it down into something that was digestible for not only the commissioners, but the public. And it just went so well for him. And so just seeing the growth in other people and getting inspired by other people's journeys. It's a great club. It's a great program to participate in. I would say again, if public speaking is one of your biggest fears, it's not a reason to avoid it. It's all the more reason why you need to approach it with the right support. And I would highly suggest Toastmasters. They don't promise to turn you into someone else. It just helps you become a more confident, more clear, and more comfortable being yourself out loud and just a better leader and speaker. And I would say those skills, they truly pay dividends everywhere in life. Again, it's not only just your job, it could be in your extracurriculars. If you're someone who goes to church, you might have to do a church things. Trying to think. I guess you wouldn't be doing a sermon if you're not the preacher, but speaking things in the church, or if there's any other clubs you participate in, communication and leadership just follows you naturally throughout your roles in life, and Toastmasters will be able to definitely help you with that. So I would definitely say go to toastmasters.org, find a club near you. There are clubs everywhere. There's, globally, there's clubs everywhere. I still want to, if I'm able to, like when I'm traveling, I love stopping into like a Toastmasters club. It's just an easy way. It's one of those things that can connect you from people from different countries. You have something in common, Toastmasters, and you can just show up there and sit in on a meeting and just participate if you're comfortable as well. But definitely go to toastmasters.org, check it out, enter your address, and they'll point you to the nearest club. You can show up as a guest and take it from there. And yeah, so that is all that I have for you. I would say for today's affirmation, even when I feel nervous, I speak with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Great affirmation for this topic. So thank you for being here. My name is Monie. I create videos for those who are entrepreneurs, those people who are in the nonprofit sector. I also sprinkle in videos about travel, career, and the like. So check out the playlist on my channel page for a more organized playlist of all those different topics. But again, thank you for spending the time with me today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.